Can you actually learn to be creative? Or is it just something you're born with? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dig into a really cool experiment that tried to answer that exact question.
You know, we often talk about creativity like it's some kind of magic, a spark that just hits you. But what if that's not the whole story? What if it's actually more like a language? Something with its own grammar, its own vocabulary, something that you can actually learn to help you come up with incredible new ideas.
All right, so let's get into it. First things first, why does creativity even matter so much today?
So a lot of educational experts talk about these 4 C's. They're basically the essential skills you need for the 21st century. And what are they? You've got critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and yep, right there with them is creativity. And we're not just talking about being good at art or music. This is about creativity as a core tool for solving problems and coming up with new ideas in, like, any field.
Okay, so if we're going to teach creativity, how do we even begin? Well, think about learning a new language. You have to start with the basics, right? The vocabulary. And in art, that means learning the fundamental building blocks.
First up is unity. This is all about making everything in a piece of art feel like it belongs. It's that sense of wholeness, you know, when all the different parts just click together to tell one single clear story.
Then you've got balance. And the seesaw analogy is perfect here. Every little thing in a picture has a certain visual weight. Balance is just the skill of arranging all those things so the whole composition feels stable, like it's not going to tip over to one side. And balance isn't just one thing. It comes in a couple of main flavors. You have symmetrical balance. That's when both sides are pretty much a mirror image of each other. It feels really stable, kind of formal. But then you have asymmetrical balance. And this is where things get interesting. The two sides are totally different, but they're arranged so they still feel like they have equal weight. It creates this awesome sense of energy and a more modern vibe. Next is rhythm. Think of it like the beat in a song, but for your eyes. It's when you repeat things, like lines or shapes or colors, to create a feeling of movement and pull a viewer's eye along a certain path. And last but not least, we have color. This might be the most powerful tool of all, honestly. It's like a direct line to our emotions. You see warm colors like reds and yellows, you feel energy. You see cool colors like blues and greens, and you feel calm. It's a total shortcut for setting the mood. So, okay, we have the building blocks: unity, balance, rhythm, color. But does just knowing this stuff, does that actually make someone more creative? That's the million-dollar question, right? Well, a really fascinating experiment decided to find out. And this is where it gets really cool. A study from Durakij Pandit University in Thailand took on this exact challenge. They worked with a group of 34 fourth graders, and built a whole program designed to teach them these core principles of art.
Their whole teaching philosophy was based on that famous idea from John Dewey, learning by doing. I mean, it makes sense, right? You can't just read about how to ride a bike. You have to actually get on the bike. You've got to get your hands dirty and try it for yourself.
So first, they had the students get a handle on all these new ideas. And they did it by creating these awesome mind maps. They were basically drawing out their new vocabulary, lines, shapes, colors, and seeing how it all connected. So this wasn't just about memorizing words. It was about building a real mental map for how to be creative. Okay, so once they had the map, it was time to actually use it. The next step was to apply all those concepts and make some 2D art. And you can see them doing it right here, putting rhythm and balance and color to work to tell a story on paper. And then came the final test, the big one. Could they take what they learned on a flat piece of paper and apply it to a 3-dimensional object? So they had them decorate these bowls. And by doing this, the kids showed that they hadn't just learned how to draw in a specific way. They had learned a whole set of creative rules that they could use anywhere.
All right, so the big question. Did it actually work? I mean, how do you even measure something as fuzzy as creativity? Well, turns out the researchers had a pretty smart system for it.
They used a well-known model that breaks creativity into 4 key parts. So first, there's fluency. That's just about the sheer number of ideas you can generate. How many can you spitball? Then there's flexibility. Are your ideas all kind of the same, or do you have a lot of variety? After that is originality. This is the big one. How new and unique are your ideas? And finally, elaboration. How much detail can you add to flesh out an idea? So what happened?
The results were pretty amazing. The program made a real difference in all 4 areas. But check this out. The biggest jump was in originality. Think about that. By learning the rules of art, these kids didn't become robots, they became more original. They weren't just making more ideas, they were making truly new ideas. That was followed by big gains in flexibility and elaboration too.
Okay, the scores are one thing, but did the kids actually like it? I mean, that's important, right? Well, the numbers here speak for themselves. The students rated the program super highly, especially when it came to how much they felt they got out of it. We're talking a 4.31 out of 5. That's a huge thumbs up.
Yeah, the overall satisfaction score was 4.27 out of 5. The takeaway here is really simple. The kids had a blast.
So, what does all this mean for us? What's the big picture here? It's that creativity isn't magic. It's not some gift from the heavens. It's a skill. And like any skill, it can be learned. There's that great Einstein quote, right? Imagination is more important than knowledge. But what this experiment shows us is that maybe they're not fighting each other. Maybe knowledge is the key that unlocks imagination. By giving these kids a structure, a language for art, they were actually set free to be more creative.
And that's what I want to leave you with. You now know the code. You know the building blocks: unity, balance, rhythm, color. So for the rest of today, look around. Look at a cool website, or a magazine cover, or even just the buildings on your street. Where do you see these principles working? Because creativity isn't some far-off mystery. It's a language. And now that you know a few of the words, you'll start seeing it absolutely everywhere.